I believe that you have to help those who need help, be appreciative of what you have, and help those who have less than you.
This is Synchronicity.
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 Welcome to episode 79 of Synchronicity. My guest this week is Sarah Potter, and Sarah is fucking awesome. We'll get to Sarah in just a second. I want to talk about something. Here's all I got to say. Made some tweets, liked the tweets, did the tweets. Clean the bong in your heart, right? That's my advice to you. Much like a bong that gets gunky and gross with resin and it's all yucky and you got to clean it out to make it sparkling clear. That's what our heart is too. And if you let it get all yucky from bad relationships or anger issues or complexes or any of this weird shit that can happen in our life that makes us kind of jaded and cranky and not cool, you got to clean it out. So find something you can do. It could be meditating, could be microdosing, could be listening to music, could be a creative practice, could be anything, could be hanging out with friends. Could be smoking weed. Who knows what it is? Sticking with the bong analogy there. Just make sure you clean the bong in your heart. Okay? Do that. Now let's get to Sarah, because Sarah is fucking cool, as I mentioned. So I met Sarah this past week on Friday night. I got tuned into her by Jen Sodini. Jen runs evolveandascend.com, also on Facebook. Check Jen out. She's coming on the podcast soon. It's going to be a really fun time. So I met up with her and Sarah. And Sarah and I had a podcast planned before we met, but then there was this Alex Gray and Dr. Raymond Moody discussing life after death event. And so we're going to go to that. And I don't want to forget Abby. Abby was also there too. Abby, very awesome too. Didn't speak to Abby on a podcast, but she's super cool. So we went to this event. It was really cool. It was Alex Gray, Dr. Raymond Moody, who wrote a book called Life After Life, which I actually had book on tape. This certainly wasn't a book on tape. It was an audio book that I listened through my modern device, not on a tape player. And it was a really cool talk. So many interesting concepts were discussed. I love Dr. Raymond Moody had this idea that physical reality is really just kind of like a canvas or a backdrop for us to kind of really engage with what he thinks the world really is shaped by spirit, but it's stories, the world of stories. And so this physical reality, it gives us this backdrop that we can merge our stories and agree on different ideas of stories, which I thought was fucking awesome. Anyway, so I met Sarah. We hung out that night. It was a really fun time. We were talking about stuff, and then the next day on Friday, Sarah came over. We both came back to the Hudson Valley, and she came over, met Eli, met Alexis, and had a wonderful chat. So let me tell you about Sarah. Okay, besides being fucking cool. Sarah is an art advisory and curation business. Well, that's her business. She has a business. Let me tell you about her business. You can tell I literally just read from what was on my screen. She has a business, right? Okay. So her business is an art advisory and curation business specializing in exhibitions exploring modern day mysticism. Easy for me to say. Not. What she is, though, is an art curator and an art consultant. And you'll hear in this episode how one becomes that. I was joking that you probably don't grow up as a little kid thinking that that's what you want to be. But she talks about how she came to be that and how it's just like one of the most fulfilling things like one person can do. She has totally merged so many different aspects of her being, which include being a business person, someone who enjoys and appreciates and knows what good art is, and then also merging that with modern day mysticism, right? That's fucking cool. And not being pretentious or weird about it, right? Because we've talked about that before, or I've spoken about that before, which is, when people start talking about spiritual stuff, occult stuff, magic, cities, which are supernatural powers. Shit can get weird really fast, and not weird in like a cool way, and weird like, oh man, not like that. So she's not like that. Sarah's super cool. She talks about being a witch, getting into witch stuff when she was a kid, not being a witch, but getting into witchy stuff. Interestingly enough, we both attended Northeastern for a year. She came a year after me, and we both left after a year being like, nah, not for me. So yeah, this conversation, we touch on so much awesome stuff. We talk about nope. We talk about community, how art is something that gets to the root of what reality is. We talk about being into weird woo-woo stuff and how if you can keep a somewhat grounded perspective about that, it actually is a wonderfully awesome thing. And you can find some really cool people through it. And we talk about really like what can you do to find not your calling, not to be too saccharine or sappy about it, but how do you tune into what you really want to be doing in life? Not that you need to have that totally figured out, but how do you make that leap? How do you make that decision that this is really who I want to be? This is what I want to be working on. These are the types of people I want to be surrounding myself, and going on that journey, and trying to understand how, like, what is that? How do we do that? And of course that it's fraught with fear and you're going to be terrified of various things, but really taking that leap, right? Let's talk about that. Let's be explicit about this. The emerging theme, at least for me in the past 6 months, especially on this podcast, is taking that leap or dealing with the situation of following what's really inside of you. And that's a tough thing to do. And it's scary and it's never easy. And anyone who thinks it's easy hasn't done it, right? But how do you do that with the internal confidence and fortitude to continue to pursue that even in the face of adversity? And why I love talking to people like Sarah is this is someone who has done this, has unfailingly and unflinchingly made the decision to pursue what's important to her. And through that, and by that, she has helped support her friends. She has helped support artists. She's helping people who don't know anything about buying art or getting art. She's giving them a gateway into getting stuff that resonates with them and means something to them, which I think is incredibly important. When we think of buying art or curating art or going to an exhibition and getting something, a lot of people don't think that's something that they're going to do. But if you can find something that really just means a lot to you and you can hang it up in your house and look at it and it makes you feel a certain way, that's fucking awesome. So anyway, long intro. Sorry. That's it. Thank you to everyone who has rated, reviewed, subscribed to Synchronicity, telling your friends about it. That's super fucking cool too. Don't forget, you can join the Synchronicity community on Facebook. You can do that by going to the website, syncpodcast.com. While you're there, you can sign up for the email list too. Send some shit out on there every once in a while, and people seem to like it. So that's it. Now we're done. And without further ado, here is Sarah Potter. All right, we're good to go. That's it. So easy.
Wow.
It's so easy, and nothing has changed. Except I'm going to turn my level
You
down.
look so official. I'm glad we went with the headphones.
Right? In the future, so most of the episodes of my podcast have been done remotely because I especially since like the bulk of them, not all of them, were done when I was in Maryland, which isn't as remote as it sounds to some people. We were like 15 minutes from DC, but not a tremendous amount of people live in that area. So I was like, fuck it. And like I have a friend, Michael Donovan, who gives, he's like, I only do them in person. It's the only way. And I'm like, I get that. They're so much better. They're way more engaging. There's like a dynamic of being in person with someone. But I was like, listen, there's some really fucking cool people who I want to talk to, who like, there's no way we're getting together in physical space anytime soon. And, if you're relatively personable and can communicate over digital media, it's not totally different. It's not like some weird, awkward exchange. It's like if someone on the phone can not, it's like you can have a good conversation. But I'm really happy that you're here. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So, and I'm not going to do a whole intro. Like some people are like, I'm here with Sarah Potter. So I do that in the beginning because this is a conversation between us. We can do all the pre and post stuff later. So we were just talking about a ton of stuff, and we met in person last night for the first time at this Alex Gray and Dr. Raymond Moody Life After Consciousness. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Let's start there. What did you think of that?
What an event. Wow. That was great.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I mean, I can listen to Alex Gross talk about anything.
Honestly, he's really, really fucking funny too. That's the other thing that I like about him because he obviously doesn't take things as seriously in regular reality as, we can get into that whole thing. But as some people who is talking about some of the things that he talks about and paint some of the things he talks about or paints about, which I think is good and always good. So we can go back to the event last night because we talked about it a little bit last night too. What about what are you doing now? You're an art curator?
I'm a curator and an art advisor.
Okay, explain.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't ask. You realize so normally I would have asked last night when we're having conversation, but I knew we were going to do this, so I'm like, I got to hold back some
questions.
Honestly,
I felt that.
Yeah,
I was like, we're going to get into this
Yeah.
tomorrow. Save it for the podcast.
Exactly. So art curator and art advisor, what is that?
So I've been working in the art world and the music industry for a little over 10 years now. And the art world has changed a lot. I mean, social media is changing everything right now.
Yeah.
And I think that I was in the traditional gallery world, working in galleries and doing art fairs through that and working with clients, working with artists. And honestly, I wanted to be mobile. I wanted to be able to work with people more online, do pop-up exhibitions, and I think that's the modern way of the art world. So I left the galleries and started my own art advisory business, SP Projects, meant to help artists, manage artists, set up exhibitions for them, help them connect clients. And I also work with my own clients, helping them buy artwork and showing people that anyone can buy art. You don't need an extreme amount of money. You can buy art at any economic level.
And stuff that you like and resonates with you, right? That's the qualification.
Exactly.
Is there a style of art that you gravitate towards? I mean, I've seen you're curated from your Instagram and some of the galleries that I've seen posted. What is like kind of the qualifier for you getting involved with an artist's art or even looking on behalf of someone who's looking for art? Like, how do you navigate both of those areas?
So I really enjoy the use of spirituality in artwork.
Cool.
The way that art is its own religion.
Yeah.
I believe that art can heal people. It can, artists have to create work. I always work with artists that it has to be created, it has to come out of them. And if it doesn't, it's a little scary.
Yeah.
I like very visionary work. I like to create experiences with my exhibitions.
Yeah.
I love performance art.
Cool.
I love installation art where someone comes in and really takes over a space, and being mobile and not being tied to a gallery allows me to put all of my funding into really what I think are radical exhibitions.
Creating like an experience.
Exactly.
For people. Yeah. Yeah. The experiential part of it, I think, is a big thing now. So not to get too off on a tangent on another thing, but so we did this event in LA for the podcast network, but it was also an artist collective we were working out there called No Wave, and they had this huge space and all of these beautiful paintings and photographs, and it was like really, really excellent stuff. But what was particularly cool at the end of the night, and this was like an all-day thing, but around like 11 p.m. they had a string quartet come in. And they started playing, and they were amazing. And they were playing like Venus in Furs and some original and very incredibly talented musicians, like objectively like amazing. Like I think they were working with like famous composers and stuff. They were amazing. But at one point, they did this improvisational thing where they started going up to different art pieces individually and like playing something different while looking at the pieces. And then they started moving around everyone in the gallery.
That's amazing.
So they used the space, and it felt like everything was the art there, right?
Yeah.
And the whole experience was a thing. And I found that to be like, incredibly organic, but also incredibly like profound. I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is an amazing thing that I don't know that like most people are, most people, when you think of a gallery exposition, you go in, you look at stuff, you go through it kind of sequentially, you examine what you like. But if you're creating a kind of another layer to it, that's where I think it gets really interesting. That's cool that you do that.
Yeah. Well, I want it to be a memorable experience. Yeah. And I love really psychedelic artwork, really visionary. I love artists who are creating in a way where art is their meditation, art is their religion. The process of creating the work is just as much part of the product.
So this is, I don't know if you know this, but I just released a beta version of a course I've been working on for 4 months, which is called Creative Evolution. And the idea of the course is to get anyone who's interested in any creative urge or impulse to start and maintain a creative practice, much in the same way that someone would have like a meditation practice. You have a daily or regular thing that kind of gives you some guideposts that all the things that come up in a meditation practice may come up. The same thing applies to creative practice. And one of the things you're talking about there is exactly what's in the course, which is this idea that we have to, what were you just saying? Because I forgot it as I was saying it. What were you just talking about?
Creating work is a meditation.
No, you were talking about the whole process is in the thing.
Yes.
So I have a chapter in there that basically talks about that specific principle, which is, it's weaved into non-judgmental awareness, because we like to think that the finished piece is that's it. Like, as a consumer, sometimes we'll be like, oh, that's it. That's what's created. That's the song. That's the art. That's the composition. That's the writing. But really what's being communicated in it is the entire process. Like, that is what goes in. It's imbued with that. And that's actually what's creating the resonance with the people. So I mention that because that's like, I think it's a very important thing, not only for people who are viewing or listening or consuming stuff, but also people who are starting to create. Because you can get caught up in that idea of, this needs to be a finished product, this whole thing, and you don't recognize that some of your favorite shit has been like a torturous experience in some ways for people to get that out. So that's why I bring that up. Yeah, that's fucking cool. That's really cool. So let's do some biographical stuff too. How, I found out last night that you spent some time in Boston, spent some time in Philadelphia. Now you're living not far from me in the Hudson Valley, which we're ecstatic about because we're meeting people here and it's awesome.
Yes.
Where did you grow up and how did you kind of make your way through the music scene and into the art world?
So I grew up on the Jersey Shore.
That's awesome.
I fucking love New Jersey.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of my heart there. And actually growing up in New Jersey in the 90s and the early 2000s, there was such a killer music scene.
Really? I didn't know that.
Totally.
I had no idea.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I had no idea.
There was this little club called Birch Hill, and like all of those like emo bands, punk bands.
No shit.
Like a lot of my friends had bands. There were a lot of VFWs and little clubs. I mean, my friends had record labels. They were 14 and had record labels,
awesome.
Booking shows.
That's super cool.
And there was such an incredible DIY scene. And my parents were artists and super into encouraging me to express myself with art. And being a teenager is hard for everyone.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine not having art and music as a teenager.
Yeah. I do wonder, really at any age, if you don't have those things, but especially as you're going through those transitional periods. Yeah, I agree.
I feel like art and music for me were languages that the creators were speaking to me in a way that a verbal language can't.
Not to stop you. This is the third time in 3 days that I've heard that exact thing communicated, which is something that I have spoken about with many people because I have had psychedelic experiences where I come back and I'm like, oh, fucking words. Why do we, this is the worst.
Yeah.
The fact that we use these things is, and I also appreciate poetry. I appreciate great writing. I appreciate being able to communicate with people via language, but like the sentiment still is like the ineffable, the Williams James quote, the variety of religious experience thing that got mentioned last night. It's this idea of the transcendent or mystical experience. One of the qualities, almost the paramount one, is it's an ineffable experience. You can't really describe it with language that we have. So yeah, I totally know what you're saying. Yeah.
And so I always felt that art and music were so sacred to me that it would never be how I made my money.
Yeah.
So it was like,
Yeah,
I was like, it's going to ruin it for me. So I went to business school.
That's awesome.
And I quickly found out that business school was not for me.
Really?
Yeah, surprisingly. It did not work out. I went to Northeastern, and people are always like, oh, are you in the art program, but you like to take business classes for fun or something?
What year was your first year at Northeastern?
I started there the fall of 2002.
I started there in the fall of 2001. September of 2001.
Look at that.
So you were there for all the big events, the Red Sox. And the
yeah.
Patriots. I was there with the Patriots the first year they won the Super Bowl, and I was very upset.
Oh my
They were
gosh.
turning over cars at Northeastern.
They took away Ludacris from our spring fling because our behavior was so bad.
Fucking Northeastern.
I'm still mad about
They
that.
closed the Marino Center. You know that? I'm pretty sure they
No.
closed it. I'm
Oh,
pretty sure
wow.
and they took away the football team from Northeastern. Apparently,
I mean,
I was never into that stuff there.
I didn't even know there was a football team.
I went there for a year. Yeah, there was. There was.
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Is that synchronicity?
Yeah.
And so I honestly didn't even know about art school, really. I went to art class. Sorry. I went to art class in high school, just to back up, outside of school. I was in a liberal arts magnet program in my high school.
Cool.
And with a liberal arts magnet program, I still only had half a year of art class in school.
Yeah. That
So-
sounds about right, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I had more art classes than most.
By far.
students,
I don't
yeah.
think I had one art class my entire high school. I don't think I'm joking about that because I would remember. I took a lot of music classes which filled all of the
Right.
arts, right?
Yeah.
So I had one class where I think we visually or like made things or like learned drawing or something. That's nuts. Yeah, I never thought about
It
that.
is. I believe that I think everyone needs art and music.
Totally.
And our education system has to change. But
Totally.
I
Yeah,
could really
that's-
go off on
No,
a
trust me,
lot.
we can too. I mean, I love to go off on that stuff too, and I also try to figure out like what do we do about it. Obviously, like I have friends who have children who are older than mine, who's Eli's 11 months right now, and these 5, 7, 9, 10, 13, and I see what some of them are doing, and it's really fucking smart. Like they make art and music and creativity, they weave it into like either weekend days where they have some cool thing where they investigate stuff. And like, if you're not doing it at home, like they're sure as fuck not doing that at school.
Oh, no.
And I hope, I don't know, this goes back to like, how do we form like communities that integrate in kind of as a bridge with modern life, but start to like teach or talk about things that people really should be learning, right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of what I was talking about last night. As I was ranting, but continue. I'm sorry again.
Oh no, I love a tangent. So my boyfriend in college went to a small art school in Beverly, Montserrat, and I remember going out to visit him, and the dorms were all Victorian homes, and everyone was hanging out in their living rooms and drawing together and working, borrowing supplies from each other. And I was like, what? Like,
I know.
this exists? This is paradise. And it just became apparent that Northeastern was not the right place for me.
Oh, I know the feeling.
Yeah. The accounting classes were crushing my soul. And I just realized my mind didn't work like that. And so I left Northeastern and I took a few summer classes at Mass Art so that I could, and then transferred to the Art Institute of Boston, which is where I wound up graduating.
Awesome.
And I double majored in fine art and art history. But I realized while I was in school that I really loved selling my friends' work or trying to show my friends' work.
Yeah.
And being in class and being like, this print is good. Like,
Right?
people want to.
And you knew it was good. And
Yes.
you knew that you were able to tell what was good objectively.
Yes.
Yes. That's
Yes.
a big thing. That's a big thing.
I use my intuition in everything I do.
Yeah.
And I see a piece, I know, I just get this feeling about it.
Because you're tuning into that process, right? That's what we were talking about
Exactly.
before. You know, and you can recognize. And then I'm sure as you meet the artists or you know them, you can like kind of unlock the stories behind
Totally.
the pieces. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so I didn't even really know what I was doing. I didn't even realize this is a career on its own, and
Yeah.
kind of doing studio visits while I'm in school. And
Yeah.
I have insomnia. So I figured if I can't sleep, I might as well be working and making money.
Yeah. I feel you. I feel you.
So I had a lot of friends who were DJs and in bands, and a lot of us were just kind of working with small clubs and promoters and booking dance parties. This was like when indie dance parties were cool.
Yeah, man.
And I would hang up my friend's artwork at clubs and try to sell it while it was
yeah.
going on. And totally did not realize that this was happening globally. Like, this was where the lowbrow movement was starting, and there were a lot of other people doing this too.
What's lowbrow movement?
Lowbrow was something that was born out of kind of comic books and record album artwork and just this kind of, like a rebellious answer to the highbrow kind of art scene. But even now, what came out of the lowbrow art scene, artists like Mark Ryden, his work is going for tons of money. Brad Pitt collects that. Leonardo DiCaprio collects, like, there are major heavy hitters who
Right.
have transcended out of that movement.
Right.
And it's something that Juxtapose magazine and High Fructose really shone a spotlight on, and street art. And I also worked in a skate shop selling like high-end spray paint to street artists.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
I wanted to meet cute boys. And
That's a good fucking plan, right?
but I learned a lot about spray paint and art supplies and that entire scene. And we sold Juxtapose magazine, and I would flip through it while I was at the shop. And it opened my eyes to this whole art scene that I had no idea existed. Because I was into heavy thought-provoking performance art, and my art history concentration was new media starting in the 60s and on. So I was like the biggest Marina Abramovic super fan.
She was talking, I think, was it Jen or you who pointed out that she had a performance thing last night too?
Yeah, Jen was mentioning that, and it was
right. Was it at Alchemist?
Yeah.
You realize where we were last night is like a 10-minute walk.
I thought I felt her.
Yeah. I mean, right there. I don't know a ton about her. I know the artist is present. I watched something recently, and I knew some of her earlier performance art. I thought the artist was present was pretty fucking smart. Pretty fucking
I love
cool.
that.
Yeah.
I think, she had a longtime partner.
Yes.
Who she worked with. And then was I saying this to you last night?
No,
my
you
dream?
weren't. No.
Okay.
No.
So they were partners in life and work, and they did all of these, I find, incredibly moving performance pieces.
Yeah, I know of some of them. Very intense
Yes.
shit. Yeah.
And I remember I'm such a romantic when I was in college as a teenager.
I don't think that ever really leaves.
No,
unfortunately. For those of us, yeah.
But I know that the way their final performance piece when they were ending their partnership was each started at opposite ends of the Great Wall and walked towards each other and met in the middle. And I was like, oh, that's how I want to break up with every boyfriend.
Really good. That's really good. That's really good.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That's not unfortunately how it works.
Unfortunately, no one has ever met me in the middle of the Great Wall.
Here, this is how we're gonna do it.
But then they meet again at the Artist is Present thing, which is
So
incredible.
good.
I don't know how we got. Oh, we were talking about the aesthetic. So,
Oh yeah.
and so you noticed you were, having the desire to showcase and then sell your friend's stuff, and you recognized that you had a talent and a curation talent. What year? When are we talking? This is kind of happening.
This started around 2005.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So this is a while ago now.
Yeah. This
Cool.
is literally all I've done with my life. I
That's
feel like
awesome,
I
though.
had to. I don't know what else to do. I
But
just have to follow
You
it.
seem like you enjoy it.
I love it.
So that's
It satisfies
why
me.
else?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's
Yeah.
really, really, really fortunate and lucky. I think a lot of people struggle with that, especially this day and age. And between jobs not existing that existed and jobs that will not exist in the not too distant future, I think a lot of people, especially the people who are going, like, you realize what I realized. So I went to Northeastern for psychology. I did a 2-week application or 10-day application because I was high and I put down psychologist because I was reading like Carl Jung and like I was super into psychology. And they came back and I think they gave me like a decent scholarship. So I was like, oh, well,
I guess I gotta do
gotta
it.
go there. So, and I went there, and the one class I ended up enjoying was a classical guitar class, and it was really good, and it was good. And so it's like, you know what? And the psychology classes was so horrible. It was so, I couldn't tell you. It was a huge lecture hall, and it was just like the most boring shit. I was just like mortified that this is what they were talking about, like the brain. And I was like, oh my God. I just stopped going to classes. So I transferred and then eventually went to Berkeley. I get the idea of, of being able to know that you're not necessarily going to take a traditional career path. But I think people who maybe think that they are, probably less so going to college and then being potentially straddled with an amazing amount of debt because of that. That's fucking up a decent portion of the country that I think would be potentially predisposed to creativity or artistic practices, which honestly, like, when all this shit is being done by machines, like, what do we really think we're going to be doing? What's going to create the value? What's going to kind of evolve the culture into something important?
Exactly.
Art. So like that's the fucking thing. Yeah. Okay, so this is 2005. You're recognizing this. How does this begin to evolve into a business, into you getting some traction? And then also, I mean, you're in Boston until when?
I left Boston right in the beginning of 2008.
Same time I did.
Yeah.
Literally.
Running and screaming out of there.
Yeah.
I was ready.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I always tell people Boston is a great place to visit.
It totally is.
But not lived there for 7-8 years.
No. You know, when I left Boston and I was on the Jersey Shore and people would say hello and smile and I'd be like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I love saying hi to people.
Know, me too.
I'm not like that.
I know.
It hardens you a bit there.
I mean, I had so many outrageous experiences there. Like, there was a point where homeless people would gravitate towards me and like for like deep, profound conversations. I remember one time I was on Charles Gate East right by Fenway Park, and I was coming back, and I had taken not an insane amount of acid, probably like 100 micrograms, something like you're not like tripping balls, but I had just taken it. It wasn't really kicking in, and I was walking back to the dorms on 150 Mass Ave. And there's a lot of homeless people. There used to be a store 24 there. It's just it's the nexus. There was a Wendy's, and there were some regulars. And there was this one guy it was a black dude, and he never talked to anyone. He was always kind of like ranting and raving a little bit. And I'm telling you, he never talked to anyone. Like, there were some people who ask you for shit. He was just there, and he went right up to me. He's like, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, oh, fucking shit. And this happened so much. And I kind of met a weird underground culture of homeless people who lived around the parks and stuff. Boston is a very weird place. It's really weird. We were talking a little bit last night about how there's so many, like, there's just always a youthful influx of people that it's like bizarre. It doesn't really happen in a lot of other major cities in such a concentrated way.
Right.
And it's really just like makes the city function very weirdly. Yeah. It's okay. So you're in Boston. You left Boston in 2008. Where did you go?
So my intention was, I think one of the greatest things about being really young, like early 20s,
Yeah.
is that like naive to the point of stupid.
Yeah, definitely.
And-
That's one of the best things you're leading with. That's one of the best things.
Yes,
Cool.
because
I
it
love
allows you to dream very big
Totally.
without the thought of maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
And you think that gets beaten out of people?
It hasn't been beaten out of me yet.
That's what I'm saying.
But but I do think it. I think as people get older, they're thinking about looking forward, maybe starting a family. How am I going to take care of myself and my family? How am I going to take care of this massive debt for my education? And I was just like, oh, well, I'm done with school. I'm going to open a gallery.
Yeah. Yeah, you had the freedom.
Why not?
To be able to do that. Yeah.
So I wanted to move to Philadelphia, and
Why Philadelphia?
I just wanted to move there.
Just had the
I
feeling
just
to
liked
go
it.
there?
Yeah, I had
Cool.
friends who were living there. It was really affordable. You could get space that was affordable. There was an art scene. Space 1026 is an art collective and one of my most favorite galleries. They're just putting on incredible shows.
Cool.
It just felt like a good place to start out my
You knew
adult life. Yeah.
Cool.
So I kind of was starting to look at apartments and spaces, and I was like, oh, I could just like live in the back room secretly and whatever. And at the same time, I was visiting my mom on the Jersey Shore, and I hadn't really gotten to see her much while I was in college because I was so intense at school. And my mom had read about a gallery that was owned by two women, and she was like, why don't we go check this out? It's in Asbury Park, New Jersey. And the first exhibition that was there featured 3 local artists. One is Robert Ryan, who is a tattoo artist. He owns Electric Tattoo, and his work was unlike anything I'd ever seen before.
What was it like?
It was anthropomorphic, a lot of sacred animals, sacred geometry.
Very cool.
I felt like I was looking at work that was from not a specific time or
Cool.
place.
Like eternal timeless.
Yes,
That's fucking
exactly.
awesome. I love that shit.
It was so good. It was surreal. It had occult symbolism,
Yeah.
ancient Egypt,
Oh, I love it.
just everything.
It's like the shit you look on the alchemical stuff and these old things that still like, I'm like, this is still fucking amazing. And this is
Yeah.
from like 1500, 1700, 700 BC. I was like, this is amazing. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's awesome.
Yeah, it just hit me in a way
I
that
love it.
I didn't know a gallery could show work like this.
Like like
And-
deeply profound.
Yes.
I gotcha.
It was like I fell in love.
Awesome. That's exactly what happened though.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I was like, this is cool. This is something really exciting is happening here. And there was also Megan McKelvey's artwork, who is an incredible artist. She created all of these pieces. It was religious symbolism. I've always loved Virgin Mary iconography, and she stitched Virgin Mary and just different symbols, and it was just really speaking to me. And I was like, oh, this is exactly the type of art I want to show in my gallery. And it just felt like I wanted to be a part of this. And Asbury Park was such a special town. Ocean Grove is right there. Ocean Grove is next door, and it's a religious community, and they would lock the gates at night
Oh, really?
to keep the sin of Asbury Park out.
No, it's a
Yeah.
good selling point for Asbury Park.
Yes. It's so good. Asbury was fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is where I want to be. So I asked the owner if she needed any help, and I said that I was not going to be around for long. The most I could really commit to was 6 weeks, because I was moving to Philadelphia and I was opening my own gallery. But if anything I could do to help and be a part of this and
Right.
further what they were doing, I wanted to do.
Which I hold the thought just to say this. That is something that I think gets often overlooked in terms of, because listen, especially with a lot of the older generation of people who grew up in a business world, the thought of giving away or offering support or help unequivocally with no gain, financial, so whatever it is something that is not typically advised that one do. In my life, every single time I've done that, amazing things have come from it, regardless of whether it's financial, personal, relationship, spiritual. I really recommend people do that in a mindful way. And what I would say here is the connection is you said you were falling in love with this stuff. This was speaking to you on many different levels. So you just felt compelled to selflessly be like, what can I do? Okay.
Totally.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
And I absolutely believe in community. The art world is cutthroat, and I understand that.
And music too, right?
Yes,
you know that too.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, but I believe in helping each other out. I always try to help people who are younger than me. I will always offer advice or my opinion. I like to hire women to
I was going to touch on
me.
the women thing too, because we'll get to that.
Yeah. So, through a series of happenstance events, I wound up staying at that gallery for 8 years.
Yeah, I was going to say. So how did that come about though? Like really what was the catalyst that really kept you there? And
the woman I spoke to, her partner in that gallery, really just as I got there, she checked out. And she was left with a gallery to run by herself. And it just, all of the signs pointed to being there. And a lot of signs pointed me away from Philadelphia. And that gallery eventually evolved into another gallery. And I just made my way up the ranks, and I learned a lot. I learned as much of what to do as what I should not do.
Right, I was going to say. Yeah.
And, but I also knew that I eventually, I couldn't stay there forever.
Right.
And there really is something to that Saturn return. I was 29.
Let me preface this too. I don't know a tremendous amount about astrology. I've had a Vedic reading done once, which I found to be very cool and accurate in a lot of ways. My dad is very much into astrology. He will do like natal charts. You know, my son is born. He'll send me mine. I don't really understand what any of it means. I'm in no way closed-minded. I believe that all of this shit is interconnected. Why would I ever exclude astrological or the movement of celestial bodies? Like, I'm with it. I have found, especially the moon in particular, my sun sign, my main sign there is a Cancer. The moon fucks me up as much as anything else. This last one on the 11th, holy shit.
Yeah.
That was fucking insane. That was like one of the most insane. I think I ended up microdosing the next day or that day for the first time. So there was that. But yeah, I'm totally with it. Continue.
Well, so, I mean, even if you don't believe in astrology, I think that when you are 29 looking at 30, you should be thinking about a lot of things and where you've been the past 10 years and what you'd like the next 10 to look at. It's a natural time to really evaluate your life. Totally. And I just, when it's time, and when it's time to leave the nest and fly. And I knew that I was ready to start my own business. So I did move to Philadelphia and started my own art advisory business. And I just really, at that point, I just wanted to continue working with my clients, helping people buy art, whether it was for their homes or their offices, work that has meaning, work that brings meaning to their lives, work you want to wake up to and see every day, work that's going to hold its value, if not steadily increase in value. Art is a great place to invest your money into.
Yeah, especially if it means something to you, and even money, if it rises in value, it fulfills something in you. That's also a very satisfying feeling in life. I mean, that's that's one of my favorite things about art and music and all of those things is that the value it gives you is not intrinsically tied necessarily to anything else. And that to me is an amazingly profound concept because we live in a society, and I definitely want to touch on this too, because this is, I think, something a lot of people struggle with. And I've had a interesting relationship with money for various aspects of my life. I've at times, and especially in my younger years, teenage and early 20s, thought money was the root of all evil. It's the worst thing ever. It makes people do stupid things. And I've come to learn that it's a kind of a neutral energy that can be used like any other thing. And it's the intent that you ascribe to it. It's the way that you make it. It's how you use it, because you can have a shitload of money and keep it all for yourself and buy expensive Porsches and not give a fuck about anyone, be mean to people. Or you can make a shitload of money and give to charitable causes, create institutions, help your friends, help your family. So the money isn't the thing that's bad, but kind of going into this idea of authentically creating a system that allows you to work within the confines of our society and culture, right? Knowingly that we need to make money. I own a house now, so like I have a mortgage to pay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend that like as woo-woo as I can get. That's a responsibility that I owe to a bank. I co-own a house with a bank. So how was it for you kind of navigating the process of creating a business based around kind of these eternal, timeless principles, but also having something that, fulfills the financial obligations, not only for yourself, but for your friends who are artists and the people who are also looking for something and have the money to spend on this too. So how did you kind of navigate that road or roads?
Did you know there's a Facebook group for Synchronicity? I mentioned it at the beginning of this episode, but it's a cool place where you can talk to cool people about cool things. We just crossed 1,000 members of this group. We talk about all sorts of stuff. We share funny things. We have good times. We share music. If you want to join, syncpodcast.com. You will see the menu item, Facebook group. You have to request approval. I'm not just letting anybody in. Request approval. I'll take a look at you. I'll say you make the cut. You get in. How about that? And that's it. Back to the episode.
I also had a weird relationship with money. And I thought that you had to give everything away, give yourself away. And especially in the art world, I feel that everyone's expected to work for free, and that is not okay.
Tell me about it.
Money is wonderful.
Tell me about it.
You know what?
Yeah.
And I am pretty woo-woo. And I will tell you that money is great. It's what you do with it.
Yeah.
And what I told myself was, this is a business. It's not a hobby. It's fun. It's fulfilling. It's hard. And if I don't make money for myself and the artists I work with, this ends. And it can't go on anymore. If I don't make money for my artists, how are they going to buy supplies? How are they going to pay for their studio spaces? Right. How are they going to support themselves? And I just think you don't let money change you. You always follow your intuition. You surround yourself with good people who are working in a very true and honest way. But you have to accept money. You have to accept your value. You don't have to work for free. There are times when you do.
Right.
And you pick and choose those opportunities.
Right.
But we all have to make money, and I have to sell work. It's great to have a good eye. And I was saying, I trust my instinct and my intuition, but I have to move work. And I want to be able to support my artists and support myself, and we're so doing that together.
This is the idea that I think is kind of the seed for how we create, I don't know, not to get too fucking idealistic here, but like a new form of culture or, tribes or families or whatever it is, because we can't just get rid of money. The exchange of resources hinges upon this concept, and it will for most likely my son's entire life too, right? It's not going to be overturned. And I have cryptocurrency, and I, believe it's possible the global economy could make a lot of these things meaningless. But I don't really think that's going to happen. I think this is a system that has worked through a lot of different things and will probably continue for a little bit. So working within kind of, here's the allegory I'll give. Knowing that the world is shaped by spirit, or, saying that that's a concept. This is what they were talking about last night too, that it's really spirit is what's shaping the world. And kind of, I loved what Dr. Raymond Moody was talking about, which was physical reality is the backdrop. It's the backstory for the actual stories, that we need this kind of consensus reality to help shape and guide our world. So knowing that we work within this world to do matters of the spirit and to get to the truth of that, much in the same way, that's how we use money in a capitalist society. We're working within the confines of a system that we know is somewhat limited, and in some ways not perfect and not good in a lot of ways, but we can use it for good, which is exactly what you're saying. I mean, money is a motherfucker for me, because there have been times where I've had almost no money and been miserable, which has been in the past. There have been times when I've had been making a good amount of money, 6 figures, and have been miserable.
Yeah.
And have been happy. However, now, which is easily the roughest financial transitional period of my life by far, which I always imagined would be the scariest and most horrible, just earth-shattering, like panic-stricken mindset. And there are days where you're like, holy shit, what the fuck? I'm super happy, though. And it's not because I'm insane. It's because I'm not sitting on my ass being like, oh, I'm making money. I'm planting seeds for things that are going to happen in the future, but I'm doing what I really want to be doing, and I'm treating it like a business. It's not like a hobby. And I made that shift, and I say this not only to relay my personal story, but I know a lot of people who are right on the cusp of maybe taking a leap career-wise or trying to pursue something they really feel that they need to do. And some people are looking for like the kind of security to make that leap. And it's not usually there.
Nothing is secure.
Right.
It was like when I was in art school, I broke my heart hearing friends who would say, well, my parents want me to study graphic design because that's secure. And I was like, nothing's secure.
Nothing in life.
We're not getting out of this alive.
Yeah.
And money makes things easier, but it doesn't make us happy all the time. And I feel like I want to enjoy life, and I want to enjoy what I'm doing. And there's ways to have both.
There really is. And I think that this is important. And I think a lot of hippies in the 60s dealt with a not dissimilar thing as they moved into like the mid 70s and the 80s. And kind of there had to be this idea of like, what are we going to do? And that, I think, took too much of a swing back on the pendulum, because the 80s and the 90s were, that was just like insane. And like, I love a lot of the art and music that came out of them. So culturally awesome with a lot of that stuff. But, yuppie movement and Reaganomics and all of these things, they were obviously destructive on a lot of levels. Now I'm hoping with the confluence of technology, media, access to this stuff, and then it's also kind of like a semi-knowledge of what has happened in the past 30, 40 years, I'm hoping we can integrate this in like a very substantial way, which is why I love hearing stories like yours, where it's like you found something that you loved. You never really thought this is what you were going to do. And I would find it surprising if you did. If like, I have a passion for being an art advisor, an art curator, like that would be like, how did
15,
it's like, how did you do? You're like playing Barbies with like, I'm an art curator.
You should buy this painting, Ken.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that would be weird to me. But you found this thing that you recognize you were passionate with, and you also recognize you had a skill for too, which I think is important. I mean, not to shit on anyone who has a passion, hone your craft, hone your skill. But if you notice you have both, that's a good Venn diagram to actually pursue and create something about. And I also like that you really do take it serious. Like, it was a business to you, and that's an important thing to relay, because when we're talking about creative stuff, especially artists themselves, I consider my one because I make music, but
you're an artist.
Yeah, a lot of times you don't want to think about the business aspects, and I fundamentally believe at this stage it's not the most sexy thing for me to look at my web analytics. It's not the most sexy thing for me to have to write checks and, have a loan and do all these things. But because I know this shit, if I have an idea and I want to execute it, I have something that just at least I know isn't going to be totally like me just fucking throwing things to the wind completely and having no idea what's going on. And I do think that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to put pretty pictures on the wall and invite people to come see it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more that goes into it. And I know some people, they curate on the side and they do other jobs to make it work. And I think that's beautiful. But for me, I had to fully commit to this, fully submerge myself. It was terrifying.
Right.
But
that's the thing.
If
right
I'm not giving my all, I mean, the artists I work with, they're giving their all. Like, we both have to give 100% in this. And I think that comes through.
I think it's just one of those things, and it touches upon the kind of like pushing through the fear or moving towards it. And it's,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that fear is such a detriment for everyone. Around this time last year, I had a conversation with an artist about fear. And I believe that he was not pushing through to his full potential as an artist because he was afraid. He has a family to support, a mortgage, all of these very real issues that face all of us.
Yeah.
And I understand that fear. Who hasn't acted out of fear? I have. I mean, and at the same time, I connected with this artist, Lucian Shapiro, who he is incredible, a mixed media artist who started a performance piece. He was traveling the country with it, and it was about conquering your fears. And he created a whole ritual. And I couldn't believe it. I saw that he was doing this tour while I had this conversation with this other artist. And it was called the Fear Collecting Ritual. And I was like, I have to bring this to Philadelphia. People need this right now. And this is before the election. I mean, it was just so pertinent that he was doing this. And a few of my friends who are artists live in an old convent. And the gallery space is in the former chapel.
Oh, cool.
And so I did a solo show there with this artist, Heather Gable, that I love. And it was excellent. And so I talked to them about bringing Lucian in. And he creates masks that transcend time or place. They resonate with so many people, and they feel powerful. And I mean, and what a beautiful thing. He traveled the country collecting everyone's fears. And it just so happened that he did another ritual and got rid of them the day after the election. Not planned.
No, I mean, I know how those things happen. Trust me. I know that when those things actually happen, they're not like it's a planned stage thing. It's just times. Listen, most people thought Hillary was going to win. So
Totally.
I mean, no, it's planning that.
Yeah.
Fear is a motherfucker. I mean, it's also a beacon. It's also something that can wake us up that something is happening, and we can
That's true.
have a choice in how to respond to it, which is not, typically our reaction is not to move towards it. But yeah, this leap, what you described as terrifying, I think it has to be done. And when you look at your favorite artist, whatever field it is, whatever you love, whatever your passion is, those people had to make that jump. They had to. You know, if they're really doing soul stuff, if they're really getting the thing out of them. And I forget who I was talking about. I know it was Alexis. I was talking about how Justin Bieber, as much as people don't like to admit it, is like, he's a real artist.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, people, there are people who have all different opinions about people, but this dude is bearing his soul. I mean, you can hear it in his voice, you can hear it in his talent and his skill, but like, he may be kind of a douchebag, but he is being a douchebag to his soul's maximum potential.
Exactly.
And that's coming out in the music, and like, may not be your favorite thing musically, but for people who like can recognize the truth in it, even if it's not maybe their particular band or two, that shit's being an artist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I just think that's, I love that.
Yeah. I just think like, it's nice being in your comfort zone, but when you get out of it,
that's when
great
shit happens.
things happen.
It's the only way, because you're just, even from like a neuro scientific way, if you're looking at the same neural pathways, if you're going down the same grooves over, this is why meditation has a profound effect on people.
Yes.
Because you can slowly start to be aware of the grooves and the patterns that you're going through, and you can trace it back and be like, is this really serving me? Is this serving people around me? And you have a chance to potentially, slowly but surely, do what you really want to do. Well, let's talk about this idea of creativity too, because I mean, this is something, like I told you, I have a course about it now, which was semi-planned. I researched it, but I never thought I would be doing anything like that. But I do think it's such an important thing, getting people in touch with their own creativity. And that doesn't just mean like making art or writing a book or making a song. It could be starting a business. It could be anything. I feel like that's like a very, very important thing over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years for people to get in touch with who maybe wouldn't think that they are.
Oh, totally. Everyone has creative potential.
That's what I think, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems apparent to me. But a lot of people don't think that they do.
I know.
Which is a shame, which is why I made a course about it. But
it's needed.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just let's shift gears now.
Okay.
We're doing an abrupt. Let's talk about some woo-woo shit, though, because you said you're into woo-woo. What's an example of some of your woo-woo stuff?
Okay, so I have always been interested in the occult.
Cool. Like what realms, what facets?
So I got my first deck of tarot cards when I was 12.
Cool.
I got the Rider-Waite deck, a classic.
Cool.
I loved the symbolism. I loved the imagery. I liked there was this mystique. And, in the 90s, it wasn't as easy to get the woo-woo stuff.
So my sister had a tarot deck.
Uh-huh.
Hers was cards would literally jump out of this motherfucker. It was insane. And she used to read tarot, which was my exposure to it. I don't know. No one. It wasn't like a big thing that people were ordering off Amazon.
No.
Yeah.
No. Like you had to usually some other weirdo
exactly
showed it to you. And then you were like, oh, I need more of this weird stuff.
It was like porn, basically.
Exactly.
It wasn't as accessible as it is now. You just go into Google and find whatever weird thing you're into. You have to you had to know someone with a Playboy or a video. And it's like, now I know. Where do I get more of this? Yeah, okay.
Totally. And you know what? Even before that, I had a Ouija board when I was a kid.
I swear to God, Sarah, I was going to say Ouija board right before you said it. Because that was the other thing that my grandma had a Ouija board in the basement of my grandparents' house. That's funny you said that.
That is good. Yeah. Well, I was the kid I brought my Ouija board to all the slumber parties.
Fuck yeah. Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
I totally believed in ghosts. I was just I had psychic experiences from a very young age. Yeah. And luckily I had parents who were really open-minded and were just like, explore that.
Yeah.
And I got my first book on witchcraft around the same time as that tarot deck.
Cool.
And my parents were very much like, well, as long as you're reading, we don't care what you read. So yeah, you want some of these witchcraft books? I don't know. I remember I had this one. It was about white witchcraft, and it was a blue book with white and orange writing on it. And next time I go to my parents' house, I have to find it. Yeah. And it was like totally like I was reading these books like I was a 60-year-old crone or something. Like I was definitely not a young person, I guess.
Right. You're just gravitating towards things that people your age. This is so cute. Let me just, what do you think now that kids now can just go find whatever it is? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I felt like certain books that would find me, as I'd put it back then, were like very special and auspicious. And I know nothing is really diminished by the internet, but it's just such a different experience. And like you find that, but for me, it was Carl Jung. It was these philosophical, it was a lot of sci-fi. And it was just like, damn, like, do people know that this is actually like a thing? Like, is this
yeah, is anyone else reading this?
Exactly. Now it's not really like that because there's a message board for anything.
Exactly.
There's probably a whole community around that specific book you were reading.
Totally.
Right now. Yeah, but continue. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've had this discussion with a lot of people because the occult is having such a moment in mainstream society.
Tell me about
it. Witchcraft is everywhere.
Everything. It's like yoga.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And you know, at first I felt like I was a weird kid. Like, luckily I had social skills, so I had friends and I had other friends who were weird. But like, it was not cool to be a witch. Like, The Craft came out in the early 90s, like in the mid to late 90s. That was not cool. Now it's like, it's fucking hip, like, to be a witch.
It's like a nerd thing.
Yeah.
Like, when we were growing up, if you were a nerd, that was a bad thing in school.
Yeah.
You did not want to be a nerd.
No.
Bill Gates wasn't popular. There was no rich nerds yet. It was just something that you didn't want to be. Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
But you know what? Like, I love that. I think it's like, I mean, I always think it's cool to be weird. I think weirdos are
Tell me about it.
Awesome. And if you're too normal, I know you're just hiding your weirdness.
Right, because no one is. What was the quote from last night?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man,
that was
good.
so good.
I hate bringing up quotes when I don't remember them. We'll try to think.
Yeah,
of
it was really good. But
normal is something that people pretend to be. What the fuck?
Oh,
is
getting to know someone.
We're gonna
yeah, we gotta
put this in
get
our
that because it
subconscious.
was
We'll get
so
that back
good.
by the time we wrap this up. Yeah.
But you know what? I know everyone's sick of seeing pentagrams everywhere. Frankly, I am too. But whatever, these are powerful symbols that have been part of our society for centuries. There's a reason that they exist. And you know what? If a kid sees a pentagram in Hot Topic, whatever, and it calls to them and they want to learn more about that symbol,
Why should we dissuade that?
why not?
Right.
You know, and like there was part of me that felt like, no, like that's my thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I remember feeling like a lot of people felt ownership of bands and hating when an indie band got signed. But I love it. Like, more people hear that music. I want my friends to make money from what they love and their music, and when their art blows up, and we can't keep everything a secret. We have to celebrate these things.
It's like the hipster. You want to only do the underground stuff. And
whatever. My
only issue, and I can only put it in the music scene that I really love, electronic music, is I love it when people from the underground blow up and get the notoriety. What no one ever wants to see is people who are jumping on the backs of the underground and then creating some derivative, which happens everywhere. I mean, whatever you're thinking, that is an unfortunate thing. But no, I don't think you should ever be upset when someone makes it. I mean, that you should always be. That's
celebrate it.
Yeah, it's mudita. It's sympathetic joy. That's like a very important thing to cultivate, because a secret is, if you can be happy for other people genuinely when good things happen to them, you're going to be happy a lot of the time.
So true.
That's like a fucking secret that I don't think is a little cheat code there.
Yeah.
Just get that one skill down, then surround yourself with successful people who are doing cool shit. You're going to be like super happy and successful yourself. That's basically how it works. Yeah.
I truly believe in that too.
So, okay. So occult, witch stuff, Wiccan stuff. What else? What other woo-woo?
Let's see. My purse is full of crystals.
Cool. I have all these here.
I noticed that. That's a nice one.
It's rare that you're seeing my little table here. This is kind of my like little thing. I have this is not my guru, but he is Shirdi Sai Baba.
Oh wow.
Very cool guy. It's burnt
that.
because I forgot it was in a thing, and one time it fell into a fireplace we had in New York. I didn't know it, but something like pinged in my head that something was wrong, and I ran over there, and before it like burned any of the thing, I got it. So I'm gonna keep that on my holy saint table. So like, what do you think? What's your kind of general idea of what Earth and humans and like life is?
Whoa.
No, that's a real question.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that everything is connected. I believe in the golden rule.
Yes.
Absolutely. I believe that we need to be kind to each other and warm to each other, support each other. I don't believe in organized religion. I believe in being a good person. And I think that being good should guide you, and being kind to others is what should guide you. I believe that you have to help those who need help. be appreciative of what you have and help those who have less than you.
Yes.
And I believe in education. I think we should all read as much as possible and be open-minded.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about the bigger purpose in life, but I know that a lot of the exhibitions I curate are to help me figure out my place in the universe.
Right.
And I want to create a space where all are welcome, that all feel that they can participate or learn or think about things differently. What I love about the concepts of witchcraft is it's the power that comes from within you.
Mm-hmm.
You're connecting to the earth, plants, the seasons. I believe that, the election was such a turning point for me.
Yeah.
I think it rocked everyone's world. I mean,
No, it was no big deal.
yeah, it's like, whatever. I think something happened. I know I've never felt so alone ever. I've never felt so unimportant or like that I didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't stew in a situation, like a feeling like that. So I was like, what can I do?
What can I do? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I started thinking about how this is what mysticism, this is what witchcraft is about. I believe that witchcraft has always appealed to the others of society. Think about how many, especially women, strong women.
You plucked it out of my head. This was naturally going to be my segue into talking about the women and feminine energy, because a lot of the things you were talking about in terms of what you felt the purpose was kindness, compassion. And this is not to gender or sexualize certain qualities to one gender or another, but these are things that are described as the divine feminine. These are the qualities, and there's masculine energies, and they have functions, and they interweave, and they're not relegated to one side. But I noticed you were evoking a lot of and talking about a lot of those qualities, so I would think that it would be natural.
Yes.
There's some component. Yeah, please talk about that.
And I believe like we do need to tap into both sides.
Absolutely.
I have to pull out like masculine energy in
Totally.
my business.
I can see that when you're saying their business stuff.
Yeah.
I have to take charge of this. I have to use logic to figure out this aspect of my business. Yeah, totally.
And that is what it is. Let's not pretend like it's anything else than that. It is a more masculine quality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I believe that when everyone's I was talking to so many people who felt so alone.
Yes.
And when everyone is feeling alone, if we can do something to bring us all together, we're not alone anymore, and we're a lot stronger together.
Yes. The sum is greater than the parts. The sum of the parts is greater than the whole.
Exactly.
Or the other way around. The whole is greater than...
Yes.
Yes.
And so I decided that 2017 was going to be the season of the witch. And
Cool.
I believe that witches stand up for what they believe in, even if they're the only one.
Right.
You come together and you do what's good, you do what's right, you protect people from harm, that we're seeing this turning back to nature and protecting our planet and, just dealing with these concepts that have always been there. I just think they're a lot more important now, and we have to stand up for what we believe in.
If not now, when?
Exactly.
Not to use another cliche or platitude, but this is my main, whenever I get into any conversations like these, either for podcasts or not, whether it's mystical or transcendent things or psychedelic conversations or esoteric or Buddhist or whatever, to me, it always comes back to what's the practical usage in our 3D reality right now. I trust myself to be able to ascend in the other dimensions and navigate those worlds, knowing that they exist and not take them lightly. But let's make our reality here also good, because that is a reflection of whatever we view maybe a greater, unified, interconnected whole is. And that's why, I don't have the answers for it now. I think what you're doing is an amazing template, which is essentially, I read a really good book. I actually found out about it through Phil Jackson's book, famous Zen master, head coach for the Bulls and everything. He wrote a book called 11 Rings. And it's surprisingly, it's very biographical and autobiographical about the teams he managed, but it's very spiritual and in not a forced way. Like he draws on the Lakota, he draws on like Rumi. It's very well done. And he talks about this book called Tribal Leadership, and these people, I forget their names. I think it's on the reading list for this podcast on the site, but it basically defines qualities. These people went over all these businesses and came up with this stage system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a whole thing. I'm not going to get into it, but basically identified qualities of what they deemed tribal leaders. And these were people who were constantly trying to build something for a noble cause that was greater than whatever the baseline initiative was. So if that was to make money or if that was to do things, it was something bigger than that. And that's actually what got these kind of organizations to work in these selfless ways that actually created amazing things. So some of them were in like the health system where they really focused on patient care and like really made it a much better experience for the quality of care, which drove costs down. It was like, quantum leaps forward with this type of things. There's hallmarks of tribal leaders. One of them is that they introduced triads quite a bit. So rather than trying to like introduce someone to be the mediator in between, they'll just introduce people. Oh, I think you'd know you'd like this. Not unlike Jen does, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's pretty easy to see. But what these actually relates to what we're talking about is you can create these communities that start creating systems that help support the people in the community, but also then develop kind of a template for any area of life. So what we were talking, or I was talking about last night, is like the sustainability shit. I don't know shit about sustainability. My idea of sustainability is I'm going to grow some vegetables and once in a while I'm going to be able to make a salad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I know there are people who are doing it. I know that there are people who are smart and working on this. And if we continue to work on ourselves internally, figure out our artistic motivations, our personal motivations, our spiritual motivations, we're going to be able to plug in and interface with all these different people in the not too distant future. So that to me is the idea, and now it's for the practical implementation over the next few years. So yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think is going on. That's what I'm hoping.
And I think that no effort is too small. Having that garden and making salads sometimes.
Yeah, no.
That's still impactful.
It's the microcosm of what I think could be the macrocosm. And the same principle is there, like the same way that, the oak tree is in the seed. It's the same logic. I think that applies to everything. Oh my God. I think we're right on schedule. So first of all, we're new friends now. You don't live too far away. We got a link in any number of ways. This is awesome. I have 3 questions at the end that I ask every guest and then one other question after that. And then we'll wrap it up. Is there anything that I didn't touch on that you wanted to talk about too? Because we're not on a strict time frame here.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I would love to mention an exhibit I have coming up this summer.
Yes. Of course. Please.
So I connected with the estate of Kurt Seligman. Are you familiar with Seligman?
No.
So he was a surrealist painter. I love surrealism. That was like the first big art movement I connected with.
I love it too.
And Kurt was in that circle. He was hanging out with Ernst. He was just a big player in that. And he and his wife Arlette came to New York. They were living in Paris. They were able to get out before World War II broke out and helped a lot of other surrealists and artists seek refuge here.
Good. That's good.
It was wonderful, yeah. And Kurt was not only an artist, he was also very interested in magic and the occult, wrote a lot of incredible books.
Cool.
And he was very much a connector in life. And after his death, he's still connecting us and connecting people. And it's really beautiful to see
those
that.
Types of people. It's amazing, right?
It's amazing. And I was able to visit his estate last December. I saw Jesse Bransford's exhibit, which was amazing. He's an incredible artist who's dealing with magic and
you're going to have to tip me off to I will. Another fortuitous synchronicity, at least in my life. I often know or feel compelled to like find either whether it's music and you find the right person who's tipping you off or it's art, but especially in the past few years, like I really want to get tuned in to cool like visual art. And I'm luckily meeting a lot of people, so that's helpful.
Oh, I'd be happy to.
Awesome.
And Jesse is in the Catskills as well as New York, Manhattan, so he's around. And I went to Kurt's estate. It's in Sugarloaf. Hamlet.
So I know an
Sugarloaf.
artist, John F. Simon Jr., one of my good friends. He's been on the podcast. I think I should introduce you to. He's
I would love that.
incredible. He was a big digital pioneer with digital art, but his stuff is. He has a book called Drawing Your Own Path.
Oh,
I'm gonna hook you up. He's fucking amazing.
Please do. Awesome.
Sugarloaf is cool.
I love Sugarloaf.
It was
It's
one of the first
idyllic.
places we went when we moved here. It was like our first trip. We drove to Sugarloaf, had lunch at their place. It was fucking awesome.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's where Kurt's estate is,
Yeah.
and I'm bringing my exhibition Season of the Witch there this summer.
Awesome.
It's opening in July.
Awesome. Cool. What day in July? Do you know?
It will be July 22nd.
Cool. 2 days after my birthday.
Oh, perfect. We'll
Cool.
still be celebrating.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I don't know. I went there and I felt I had this amazing sense of this is exactly where I need to be. And it's such a potent property. You feel it there. And it's everyone there is wonderful. I've been closely working with Olivia, the director. And she took a look at my project and we're doing it.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm psyched. And the artwork is it's all about artists who utilize ritual in their creation. There's the crossover of magic in art.
Fuck yeah.
And it's going to be an excellent show.
Maybe closer to the event in the summer, we can do another one of these to get
I
the
would love
Yeah,
that.
get the interest. I mean, I'm sure there's infinite topics of conversation for us to talk
I
about.
feel like we could
It's pretty
talk for
good.
a
I'm
long
glad
time.
we're meeting friends in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
It's fun times. So I'm with it.
There's a lot of us weirdos here.
I know. We're gravitating for some reason. So
I like it.
here's my last few questions.
Cool.
And I'm now having to add a qualifier for the first three because people are giving me shit on some of them.
Okay.
When I say favorite, it doesn't have to be a rock solid favorite. If you have one, that's great. It could just be something that comes to mind or something you like. So with that said, people are making me do this. I've had enough people be like, I don't know the favorite. Got it.
Okay.
What's your favorite color?
Oh. Gray.
Cool. I think that might be the first gray. Not sure, but could be. That's cool. Why gray?
I love gray. I think it's a
awesome.
beautiful color. And it's polarizing. A lot of people are like, gray can't be your favorite color.
Oh, it totally can.
And I'm like, yeah, it can.
Yeah, I love someone with the balls to say that can't be your
Yeah.
favorite
Oh,
color.
okay. My other favorite color is iridescent.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is that a color?
I say it is.
Okay, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Go with it. I'm
It
with
reflects rainbows.
Look, I get it. We're getting some.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite number?
9.
Lots of nines in a row. Very mystical number, obviously.
It is.
What's your favorite animal?
Cats.
Cool.
I have a black
I
cat.
didn't say it down there because I didn't want to say it in front of Alexis, and she probably won't listen this far in the show. I'm a cat person, and we have a dog, and I
Yeah.
love Maceo, but I grew up with cats. I'm more cat-like. She fucking hates cats.
Really?
I don't know. It's just, I feel like maybe there was a past life dog-cat interaction or something. It's a primal
it's
thing.
in there.
It's a primal thing. Obviously a cute cat that's nice. She's going to be nice.
Right.
I also think, maybe an unpopular opinion, but actually a fact, kittens are cuter than puppies.
Yeah.
People don't know that unless you really get around kittens.
They are so silly.
They're so amazing.
I love
and they don't
it.
have really claws yet. Oh, it's the best.
So cute. Little aliens.
Last question.
Okay.
Not as seemingly as trivial, although I don't think those questions are trivial.
I don't think so. Very telling.
What's a practical tip that has helped you in your life that you could share with people listening that's helped you?
A practical tip. Just in general?
Anything. This could be mundane, super important, anything that's just helped you in your life.
I think the golden rule.
Oh, thank you. The first person to ever say this, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. Can you remind people what the golden rule is?
Treat others the way you'd like to be treated.
Oh, what a novel concept. It
Right?
bakes karma in and everything.
It does. I think it gets you outside of yourself. I think it's important. Empathy. Think about what other people are going through. And it also reminds me to be kind to myself.
Yes.
Be kind to yourself. It's
Yes.
hard to be a human.
It is hard. It's really hard. And I think we're here to learn certain lessons since we share so many of the same problems across the spectrum of humanity. So yeah, being kind is very, very fucking important.
Yeah.
So with that, Sarah, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. This
Fun,
was so
right?
fun.
Yeah, it's fun. That's
It's
the point of it.
excellent.
Awesome. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to that episode. If you want to connect with Sarah, my speech is all over the place today. But if you want to connect with Sarah, find out more about her, check her out at I am Sarah Potter on Instagram. She also, I believe, same name on Twitter. She just joined Snapchat, so find her there because, Snapchat fucking rules. You can find me on Snapchat, username Tatiana Ali. It's not my real Snapchat name, but I bet you can figure out what it is. Thank you to everyone who's made a donation to Synchronicity, who has supported this podcast by telling your friends, listening, being cool. You are fucking awesome. That's it for this week. I have so many episodes in the can that I'm actively having to say, no, I can't record anymore because some of these are going to be coming out a month after they were recorded. I'll tell you about one. I'm super excited, and I think I'm going to release it next. I just recorded an episode with Jason Louv from Ultra Culture. He's been on Duncan's podcast twice. He was on Zach Leary's podcast once. Really cool episode. I think I'm going to release that one next week. I usually don't tell you what I'm going to do, but I told you because you listened to the end. If you like the song that you heard in this episode, that's the thing I'm working on for Creative Evolution. What's Creative Evolution? Oh my God, how do you not know about this? It's my course on how you start and maintain a creative practice. You can't do anything with that information now, but next month, May 2017, I'm launching the full version. We're doing the beta right now. Got about 20 people in there. We're having a great time. You will hear more about it. Don't worry. Thank you for listening. You were the coolest. Until next week, bye-bye.